out the weak. When the world comes together, united as one, sharing stories through the eyes of InView TV. Through the eyes of, through the eyes of, through the eyes of InView TV.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Midday Muster. My name is Dani Young and I'll be hosting the show today. It's an alright Monday. The weather's not super great here in Sydney where I am, but we've got a great show for you wherever you are in Australia today. On the show today we'll be joined by Ronnie Tee, a radio host from the Central Coast, and Krsulja, a singer from up in Nundle who's just got a brand new song out on Friday. So on the show, we've got some great stuff coming up, but we'd love to hear from you at home. Would you ever go to a drive-in concert? Keith Urban did one last week, and there's a lot of talk about it, so I'd like to hear from you. Would you consider taking your car to a drive-in movie theatre to watch a concert, maybe your favourite singer playing? We'd love to see your comments. I'll check back in on them later to see what your thoughts are later in the show. But first, let's take a look at what's happening in country music as we turn to the roundup. The Country Music Association of Australia has announced the Golden Guitar Awards will go ahead in January in some form, depending on government restrictions at the time. Organisers say the Tamworth Country Music Festival, during which the awards take place, will likely be one of the first major country music festivals able to go ahead after the easing of COVID-19 restrictions. Are driving concerts the way of the future? Last week, Keith Urban performed a secret concert for 200 frontline healthcare workers at a drive-in movie theatre just outside of Nashville. The Australian music industry is already exploring it as a touring option, with Casey Donovan performing Australia's first drive-in concert last Thursday. 2020 Star Maker winner Sammy White has released her winner's single this week with a twist. The track Lay It On Me would ordinarily have been released with a professional music video as part of the prize package. However, due to restrictions, she opted to make a DIY, do-it-yourself video using some other artists, including Catherine Britt, Brad Cox, Melanie Dyer, and Blake O'Connor lip-syncing along to her song. And finally, the Kicks Radiothon wrapped up this weekend, raising some much-needed funds for Support Act. The 3-day Radiothon featured special radio shows from Amber Lawrence, the Wolf Brothers, Christy Lamb, Casey Barnes, and Melanie Dyer, as well as live concert audio and 24-hour programming from Crossy and Justin. Oh, Justin Thompson, I should say. Well, that's it for the roundup. That's the latest in country music news. Let's welcome our very first guest to the show today in our industry spotlight. In this segment, we are shining a light on members of the music industry who often stay out of the limelight. Joining us today is Central Coast-based radio host Ronnie Tee from Today's Country 94.1 FM. Hey Ronnie, thanks for joining us today on the Midday Muster.
Hi Dani, how are you? I got to tell you, you must have scraped the bottom of the barrel to get some of those photos.
Not at all.
Oh, mate, and can I just say straight off the bat, this concept is absolutely brilliant. What you're doing, it is really, really good.
Thank you so much. I saw a bit of a gap in the market and thought I've got to do some sort of a country music talk show live on Facebook, because I think everyone's stuck at home right now. Country music fans are, especially with a lot of community radio stations like Today's Country, have been shut down for a period during COVID-19 restrictions. So I thought I'd do something live at least till we all get back on our feet. But this must be a bit different for you because you're normally the one asking the questions. So we've got you in the hot
Yes.
seat. How do you feel about that?
Yes, I am. Usually, and when I do interview artists on 94.1, I say, okay, what would you like me to talk about? What don't you want me to talk about? Because that's just as important as what you want me to talk about. But you didn't ask me for any questions, so I got no idea what's coming.
Well, we mentioned earlier that today's country has been shut down during the COVID-19 restrictions. What's it been like to have, community stations around Australia have been shut down for a period? What's that been like as a presenter to, have the station closed for a bit?
It's been frustrating because our home is the top floor of the Central Coast Leagues Club here in Gosford on the Central Coast, and once the club's closed, our access was cut off, which is fine. It was legislation that we couldn't help it, but we had to look at ways of staying on air as we could. Some of our presenters did it remotely from home and the lounge room and wherever they may have set up at home. They did that, but last Friday when the restrictions were lifted to 50, it was 2.5 months off the air and we were finally allowed back in. So we went back live on air Friday afternoon. So my first drive show was last Friday, and now we're back on for good. And as the restrictions slowly ease, we'll be back on air as live as we were before COVID-19 and the world got turned upside down.
2.5 months off the air is a very long time. I know as an artist, it's been making me concerned about how do I release music right now, knowing that stations are off the air for 2.5 months. Have you been keeping your finger on the pulse so you're ready to go when everything starts?
I have been do a lot of research, and you keep up with the new music coming out and the things like what you're doing now, as I said, are absolutely brilliant. So if you're going to be a decent radio presenter, you've got to know what you're talking about and do your research. So research is very important, but I can imagine, like, I'm also emceeing festivals as well, as you've seen me at a few times, and you miss that too. You miss the stage and you miss getting up there. Now, this is not my full-time job. I'm obviously got another career as well, but I can only imagine what it's like for presenters where their main gig is music and that is it. And you think, well, okay, the world's really stopped for me now. What, will we ever get back to 500 people in a pub?
Yeah, and I have seen you emceeing at many events. And you said earlier I was scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I don't think that's true at all. I think many artists, especially in the New South Wales area, know who you are. You've probably emceed at least one event that every New South Wales country artist has performed at. So we know who you are, Ronnie.
Well, I err on the side of downplaying my involvement, but I do absolutely love what I do with country music and the festivals and that. It's a great thrill to do it. And some of the artists, or a lot of the artists, have become great mates, out of the fishbowl, I guess you can call it. So you include amongst that. You've helped us out at 94.1 with fundraisers in the past, which we appreciate very much. And 94.1 is just commercial radio is another level, but a lot of musos get their start on community radio because no one else will give it to them when you're an unknown. And our big thing here at 94.1 is how does an unknown become a known? And that's give them the exposure they deserve and they want, and that's what we do. I was happy to say that I was the first one to play Viper Creek Band back in 2014, and Bob Corbett, we were one of the first ones to play him on the drive show as well. So we've had a hand in some big names getting up and about. So we love what we do here at the radio, but unfortunately we have to move. The Central Coast Leagues Club have renovation plans, and we unfortunately aren't included in those plans, so we do need to move. So that's why I've done a lot of fundraisers and MC. So now I'm putting my hand out basically, or our hands out to say, look, we need help. We've set up a GoFundMe page, and we need some help to move because moving doesn't come cheap, and neither does updating equipment. And we are a not-for-profit organisation. We have a beautiful range of sponsors, and they're absolutely so special to us. But yeah, we do. We're not ashamed to say it. We will need some help.
Yeah, and look, I have worked in community radio stations myself over the years, and I've seen a variety of different levels of equipment, and some stations are running on, old mixing desks from the 80s that they still just make work because there's just not a lot of funding in community radio as opposed to the commercial stations. So for you, it's so important to get the community on your side because there's not a lot of options available. Part of the license of being a community station is that you are not allowed to play commercials. So
no, that's right.
Yeah, so it does really depend on the community. And you guys, it's so important because myself as an up-and-coming artist, like, it does feel a lot like there's a few gatekeepers and there's like this inner elite circle of once you've made it, then you can get your song played everywhere. But while you're still working your way up, you need those people that support you from day dot and get you up there. And that's what today's country does for so many artists. So it would be amazing to see that continue. What have you got in mind? What's your vision for the new station when you successfully meet your fundraising goal?
When we started, because 94.1 was started by Adam Harvey and Rod McCormack back in about 2007. Adam rang Rod McCormack. Obviously, we all know who Rod is. Harves rang Rod and said, "What do you know about running a radio station?" And Rod said, "Not a lot." "What do you know?" "Nothing." "All right, let's have a go." So they've got the license, and then we started out at a room above a 7-Eleven in Long Jetty, which sounds like the start of the movie, doesn't it, really? But we started out above a 7-Eleven in Long Jetty with a tin roof where if it rained, we couldn't record shows because the rain was too loud on the roof. So we went from there to a place called the Broadwater Hotel in Gosford, which was an old hotel and boarding house, which we scrubbed the walls white again because they weren't white, but we got them cleaned up and everything else, and we were fine. And then we moved to the Central Coast Leagues Club, and we are spoiled here. We really are. The facilities we've got here are really, for a community radio station, it's absolutely heaven. And we want to try and keep this level of communication equipment up, but we need to update as well. We need to get into the 21st century with the digital and things like that. But our first priority is moving, because if we don't have a home to put it in, we've got nowhere to broadcast from. But we have been spoilt here at the Leagues Club. But we just want to keep producing great country music and great country music shows and giving the artists the exposure that they deserve, like yourself and Angela Reeson and all the other, ones that need avenues. And with CMC shutting down or changing their format and everything else to CMT, we need all the avenues we can give to give exposure to your artist yourself.
Yeah, we don't know what CMT is going to look like yet. We don't know if Aussie artists are going to get a look in. So radio is so important, because CMC was our only TV station, and now that's gone and we don't know what CMC will look like. So we do need stations like this in every area, because one station can't cover every area. I mean, we can't get kicks here in Sydney. We rely on stations like Today's Country. We can get that here in Sydney. So, and people who across Australia. So community stations in each area are so important. It helps those local artists grow as well. So you've just started your fundraiser. How long have you got to reach your goal?
Well, the plans for the Leagues Club sort of take effect for us in December this year. So we've only got 5 months now, 6 months to go. And we've, as I said, we've put on our radio station page on Facebook, Today's Country 94.1. So if you head there, it's pinned to the top of the page. And look, our first stage is to move and to raise enough money to move. And the 21st century, equipment, all the rest of it for satellite and digital and all that. That's what we'd love to do. But really, we need to move first and then stay on air. And as I said, with that comes sponsors, which we've got so many of, and they are fantastic stick buyers. And again, gives us the chance to give artists the exposure, not only local and national, but international as well, because we all know, especially with CMC Rocks and that, the hunger for international country music is, bigger than ever.
Absolutely. And so your goal is, from when I looked at your GoFundMe, your goal, the big goal, $100,000. Confident you can do it? It is a big.
Oh, I hope so. If I start selling my children, but we hope so. But I think 15 to 20 would see us be able to move comfortably and set up the new studio. But above that, as I said, it's a wish list that we've got. But ideally, we just want to stay there and do what we do and do what we love doing.
Right. And last question for you. Would you consider attending a drive-in concert?
I'd consider emceeing one. What are you talking about?
Okay, so I think you would get together and tee one up then.
No, look, it would be brilliant. I mean, it's country music, isn't it? It's the back of the ute, chairs and a blanket and an esky between the chairs. How more country do you get, really? It would be absolutely a concept. Greta driving, if you're listening.
It'd have to be BYO as well, I reckon. Maybe you're allowed to set up your little fire pits all around. That'd be nice.
Well, that would be nice too, yeah. But it's a great concept, and it would be a great fit. Absolutely a great fit for any type of music, but particularly country music. I can't imagine sitting in the back of the ute listening to some death metal, but, I can listen to country from the back of the ute. So it's a great concept, and I think it should, if you're worried about social distancing and that, which, let's be honest and factual, it's going to be around for quite a while, we need to get back on the horse, so to speak, and if that's a way of doing it, I'm all for it.
Very interesting. Well, thanks for joining us today, Ronnie. Good luck with the fundraiser. We'll have to share the link in the comments of this video for everyone at home that wants to go and support your amazing station. I really appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you very much, Dani, and thank you to all our loyal supporters and listeners and sponsors for today's Country 94.1. If you head to the Facebook page as well, today's Country 94.1, you will see the link to GoFundMe, and we appreciate all your help and support. And tune in Friday, 2 o'clock for the drive show with me.
With me. See you, Ronnie.
See you.
And there's a fantastic video on the Today's Country site too, with Ronnie talking with Adam Harvey about how the station was created, hearing from Adam himself how he decided to start the station, and then talking about their fundraising goals. So if you do want to hear more about the station and how important it is for artists like myself, they've played a lot of my songs. I've gone and performed for them in the past as well up in the Central Coast. So yeah, it's fantastic to support our community stations, and I think that's something we can all do right now. We need to take it as a personal responsibility to keep the arts alive in Australia during this really hard time. Artists are struggling, radio stations are struggling, venues are struggling, and if we want to have live music and a beautiful music culture where people create new songs for us all the time, we need to do our bit to support them. So there's one place you can start. We're going to move to our next segment now, where we invite artists to share the stories behind their songs and perform them live. Well, we've gone from the radio host to the artist that is played on the radio. John Krsulja is a Golden Guitar-winning songwriter based in Nundle, 40 minutes outside of Tamworth. He owns the DAG Sheepstation, where he runs songwriting retreats for writers like myself at all stages of their career. Let's take a little look at John in action.
And suddenly it struck me, I knew exactly what to do. I opened up a jam jar and I emptied out the screws, and I poured the old man's ashes in with a smile upon my face. I left the old man in the shed, everything must have its place. For he tried to educate me, and finally I see, when you find yourself within this world, how happy you can be. With nuts and bolts and washers, there is nothing we should waste. In my old man's shed, everything must have its place. In my old man's shed, everything has got its place. In my old man's shed, he found his final resting place.
John, thanks for joining us on the show today. It's lovely to have you coming all the way from Nundle.
Hey, Dani,
John,
sure is. Good to be here.
Oh, fantastic. And that was actually a little snippet of the song that you did win the Golden Guitar for in the Heritage section with Luke O'Shea. It's a fantastic song. I just love it.
Yeah,
and I love
so
hearing
that's
how
my version.
Luke.
Yeah. So Luke's version got us the gold guitar. That was my version, and that's a special version for me. And they were my kids in that film clip, so I wanted to leave them with something, a memory of their old man's shed. So that's our wool shed.
Oh, beautiful. And in terms of your music career at the moment, what's changed for you during these restrictions and isolated times? Have you, lost a few gigs, or, what overall has changed for you?
I probably found myself with more time than normally that I normal would have. But I'm not a big touring artist. I do my music on the side, and but I did have a tour lined up for an album launch, a regional tour that I was doing with a friend of mine, and she does a theatre show, like a one-woman show, and I was opening for her, and that was within our region. And I did have a few other things lined up, but they have all been postponed now. So we'll be doing them next April.
Oh, okay. That's a big amount to be postponed by. That's pretty much a full year from when, gigs started getting pushed back. I myself was meant to be on tour throughout April and May and had to pull the pin on that. So yeah, it's not fun when you've got big plans, especially if you've just released a new song, and to have to pull the pin on your plans to tour for that song. That can throw a bit of a spanner in the works. How have you been replanning what you're going to be doing with this time to help promote the new single?
Yeah, well, the tour was actually through Arts New South Wales, so it was sold to all the venues, and they all purchased it. So the fella who's put together the tour has just resold it, and they gave us the opportunity for November or April, but we just weren't sure if things were going to be normal in November actually. So,
Mm.
but what it's done is I've just pushed ahead. I've just stuck to the plan, and I think for me personally, this album's been a long time coming, and it is an album. It's a full body of work, and 11 songs. And yeah, I think in the day of digital, having an album is still very special. It's an old time thing having an album apparently, and but it is
Yeah.
it is a great collection of songs.
Fantastic. It feels like it's been a long time coming for you. You're someone that's such an integral part of the music scene, as someone who runs songwriting retreats at the DAG Sheepstation. You also run a venue that hosts performances throughout Tamworth Country Music Festival, Hats Off, and other times throughout the year. So you're someone that everyone identifies so strongly with the Tamworth region and with country music. And it's been a little while between drinks for albums for you, so we're all really looking forward to seeing what you've put together for us on this new record. Any hints and sneak peeks about what we can expect?
The truth. This album is how can I say, it picks up where Traveling left off, and Traveling for me was a collection of songs over 25 years that Carl Brody helped me make that album, and he was a wonderful producer and a wonderful friend, and when Carl passed away, this is where Burden of the Fool begins, and it begins with the new single Black to Blue, and it goes through the years that followed, and it's been a few tough years in there for my family, myself, our region, the country community, the farming community, and then of course it's all there, and there have been people we've lost along the way, and I think I've captured it. I've captured it really well, but it's the truth. It's heartfelt, and and but it's inclusive. Every story within the album hasn't just happened to me. It's happened to those around me. So it was quite tricky to put into lyric, but I think I got away with it.
Well, I can't wait to hear the whole album, like the whole project. You did mention to me earlier that it's a bit of mashing together of some sessions you were able to record with Glenn Hanna before he passed, and then some other sessions you did with Matt Fell, and some of them are acoustic, some of them are full band productions, and putting them together onto one record. And you said that was a little bit of a tricky process you had to think about. Can you explain to us with a bit more detail how you were able to put the two together and what it was like recording with Glenn as well?
So it was great. So it started in March 2019. Glenn and I went to Studio Gunga, and we recorded 4 tracks and just live tracked them. So no clicking tracks, 1 take, 2 takes, mostly 1 take. And then the end of April, we went down to Love Hurt studio with Matt and Josh Schubert, and Glenn was with us there, and we did another session, a live tracked with the band. But Glenn didn't play the guitar. He was producing. He was in the chair, and with the idea that he would add the guitar and the soundscape later. So he played on 1 track, which is Black to Blue. And then 4 weeks later, Glenn was gone. So I kind of didn't do anything for 6 months. And then I rung Matt and just said, look, you know, what are we going to do? And he didn't know I hadn't heard the song. So he said, come down, I'll help you finish it. I'd like to help you finish it. And he did a wonderful job. He was so, he said to me, I'm just following Glenn's brief. And he got Pete Cornelius on board to provide the guitar work, which Pete did a beautiful job. The guitar work in this album is just beautiful. The drumming from Josh Schubert is beautiful. Matt's bass, that they just work together so well. But it's they've really created some space, and then yet the acoustic sessions are so stark. But putting it together was strange because I had 2 sessions, and I started to meld them together. But in the end, I went, no, you know what? I had the band session, the acoustic session, and that's how the album flows. And it's a real journey. There's no other way to explain it. It's a journey. When you start to listen to the first track, by the time you're at track 7, 8, you forget where you're at. You're in a different space altogether, and it's just really good how it turned out.
Well, you mentioned Black to Blue is the first single and perhaps the first track on the album, I think I heard you say. The song started as a tribute to Carl Brody, and now that you've created this beautiful film clip for it as well, which people can check out on YouTube, it's become a tribute to both Carl and to Glenn, who you started this journey with. Can you tell us a bit more about the backstory behind that song before we get you to sing it live for us right now?
Sure. So when I lost Carl, I took that pretty bad. He was a pretty close mate, and he'd just moved up here to Nundle, and we'd spent a lot of time together. But I think the song was the first song that came out of me as a songwriter, and it's a pretty emotional song. But it's like, the best way to explain it is sometimes people come into your life, and that's the light that shines through your darkness, but then they're gone again, and you find yourself back to where you started, and then it's like a full circle. It's their memory that then comes back and provides the light that you need, and I think the whole song was for Carl. But the irony to it was that it's the only song on the album that Glenn plays guitar on. And when we sat down to record it, because we were doing these songs in 1 take, couple were 2 takes, and I was ready to play it. And then Glenn come over the monitor and he said, hey, Johnny, he said, do you mind if I played guitar for this song? So I said, no, not at all. So he took the guitar and sat next to Glenn, next to Matt Fell, and they just, Josh counted us in, and it begun. And I just sung it, and I'd never sung just Black to Blue, and I'd never heard it played like that, and we captured it. So that's the take. And then, of course, when it came to the film clip, it was a tribute to both those 2 men, 2 great producers, 2 great friends, and two great men that I felt were gone before their time. I feel like they could have. There was so much more that they could have given us, but they gave everything while they were here. And I know that you never can choose when you're going to go, or if you do go by choice. But all that aside is, I still felt that they were lost before their time, but we've gained so much from them. And so this is my sort of gift, I guess, and closure for them. It's a beautiful film clip. It's those two young dancers from Tamworth City Dance Academy. I called them angels. They were just so respectful, and they're Caitlin and Kirli's their name, and their dance teacher, she Lily, she choreographed that dance for this song, so it's quite special.
Well, let's hear your live version of the song right now, exclusive to the Midday Muster.
Life's a mystery, so they say. What makes it turn out this way? Rendezvous is here to stay. I took a look inside the silver line, and I felt so grounded, but not through trying. This many wrongs don't make it right. This old soul checked out long ago, and just like a well that's filled, it's now overflown. But I just can't seem to find that place and the time. And open up this bottle, man, there ain't no one to share the wine. And that's when the light, it shines through and turns my black to blue. So we dance like circles in a square, and we try to make sense of what people say. Left us standing on the outside of the line. We joined the dots to make that picture, and we stared in the mirror to see what was in it. But how the hell did you turn out like me? Now, these old souls checked out long ago. Just like a well that's filled, they're now overflown. But we just can't seem to find that place and the time. We open up this bottle, man, there ain't no one to share the wine. And that's when the light, it shines through and turns out black to blue. And the stairs take us up to a place that's down, surrounded by so many and no one's around. Try to find a quiet place and it's so loud. And we tick like clocks that are moving backwards. We fly like stones, all so silent. We hit the ground, we landed on our feet. These old songs checked out long ago. Just like whales in a field, they're now overflown. I just can't seem to find that place and the time. And open up this bottle, man, there ain't no one to share the wine. And that's when the light, it shines through and turns my black to blue. And that's when the light, it shines through and turns my black to blue. And turns my black to blue.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Johnny, for sharing that with us. It's a very special song.
That's
There's a beautiful
okay.
story behind it, and beautiful film clip that everyone should go and check out on YouTube right now. Just look up John Krsulja, Black to Blue, and you'll see the beautiful dancing and very ghostly effects throughout that video. Thanks for joining us today, Johnny. Really appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Dan. Yes, see ya.
Well, that's all we've got for the Midday Muster today. Before we go, I just wanted to check your comments. We had been asking, would you go to a drive-in concert? And a few people have been very enthusiastic about the idea. Bet Gracie has said, how good would a concert be that involves sitting in the back of a ute with some drinks and nibbles watching your favourite artist play? Perfect. Sue Young says, wouldn't it be fantastic to have Keith Urban as a special guest at a drive-in concert? I agree with that wholeheartedly. And Robert Holmes says he's enjoying watching the Midday Muster on his lunch break again this week. Thanks for tuning in, Robert. The link to the Today's Country 94.1 FM fundraiser is in the comments if you would like to donate to keeping their station alive. But that's it for Midday Muster for this week. Thanks for spending your lunch break with me. Our special guests were Ronnie Tee and John Krsulja. Thanks for your time, guys. And to InView TV and Bruce Mott, a big thanks for making this show happen, producing today's episode. My name's Dani Young, and I'll see you next week on the Midday Muster.
It's all about beauty. It's all about passion. It's all about change. It's all inclusive every day of the week.